The Duke. A name that for many people once brought comfort and pride is now a symbol of abuse and manipulation.
Get that out of my face! No! Go!
Couldn't believe it. How sick do you need to be to do a thing like that? Dressing up in a dog collar,
In 2020, Isabella Vincentio, the widow of the Duke, came forward with stories about her husband behind closed doors. The young widow's claims shocked the nation and caused an international stir amongst the late leader's allies. Her stories soon gained momentum, with more witnesses coming forward to expose the scandals surrounding the Duke's political and personal corruption.
What I do know is that he manipulated everyone around him. He manipulated me. Used me. From the moment I laid eyes on him as Friar Ludwig to the moment he took his last breath, I was prisoner of my own marriage.
How could a man with such charisma and likability hide his true colours for so long? How could such a high-profile figure escape even suspicion? To discover the truth, we've gone back to where it is said to have begun, 2006. An unassuming year for many, but for Isabella Vincentio, it was the start of a nightmare. We've talked to the people closest to the Duke to discover the truth as to why his crimes went so long without punishment, justice, or detection.
The time for autocracy is over. Tonight, the people have spoken. Tonight, we are united as a nation, and we shall move forward for a brighter future. Thank you, that is all.
we called him the Duke. He was no John Wayne, but he could trump a room of bureaucrats at 20 paces. The guy had a way with words, you know, a real smooth talker. He gave the PR guy a run for his money, I can tell you. He was a good businessman. A great one. And he was a role model for some of us, in a way. The guy had balls, you know, kept his cool under pressure. I admired that. The guy knew the trade like the back of his hand. Knew what made people tick. He knew what people were really like, and took advantage of that when he could. I thought I had thick skin like him, but I guess he never thought me worth his time. After what happened with Angelo, though, I can't help but feel saved from his influence, even if I was left to clear up the mess after him. One day, the Duke told us he was going out on a diplomatic mission. These sorts of things happened on a regular basis, so it wasn't unheard of for him to disappear for days at a time. You get used to it after a while, you know, and if you weren't in the know, you weren't in the know. I'm not saying I was in the know, but I'm sure as hell didn't think Angela was.
My lord, of government the properties to unfold would seem a need to affect speech and discourse. Since I am put to know that your own science exceeds in that the list of all advice my strength can give,
then no more remains, but that to your sufficiency as your worth is able, and let them work. The nature of our people, our cities' institutions, and the terms for common justice, cures pregnant in as art, and experience hath enriched any that we remember. Angelo, there is a kind of character in thy life that doth to the observer thy history fully unfold. Thyself and thy belongings are not thine own, so proper as to waste thyself upon thy virtues, they on thee.
Hold, therefore, Angelo. In our remove, be thou as full ourself. Mortality and mercy in Vienna live in thy tongue and heart. Old Aeschylus, though first in question, is thy secondary. Take thy commission.
Now, good my lord, let there be some greater test made of my metal before so noble and so great an honour is stamped upon my figure.
No more evasion. We have with a leavened and prepared choice proceeded to you. So take your honours. Our haste is of so quick condition that it prefers itself and leaves unquestioned matters of needful value. So fare you well. To the hopeful execution of your commissions do I leave you.
Hang on, my lord. Let us bring you something for your journey.
My haste may not admit it. Nor need you have to do with any scruple. Your scope is as mine own, to enforce or qualify the laws as to your soul seems good. I'll privily away. I love the people, but do not like to stage me before their eyes, though I do it well. I do not relish well their loud applause or airs vehement, nor do I think the man of safe discretion does affect it. Once more, fare you well.
May heaven give safety to your purposes.
Leave forth and bring you back in happiness.
Thank you. Fare you well.
Angelo was an upcoming talent of sorts. No more than a plaything to the Duke, though, I'd wager. He was a hothead. But he had razor-sharp intuition, and that's what the Duke likes about him. I don't believe that Angelo was ever seriously considered a candidate for succession. The Duke may have liked him, but he liked to watch him squirm too, and boy, did he squirm. He orchestrated it all that way, you know. To catch Angelo out. Look, when he was alive, the Duke did his job well, but he kept things at bay in the city. The problem was he also kept me at bay. Kept things from me that I've had to deal with.
He had it coming. What? Like I'm the first one to say that? Please. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Anyone who says differently hasn't lived. And the Duke was out there playing with the big dogs. He knew what he was getting himself into, and it was only a matter of time until one of them turned and bit him in the hand.
What was it like living under his government?
Oh, we survived. It's more than I can say for some when Angelo took charge. God-awful man. At least under the Duke we weren't scraping to make ends meet. That life was profitable. Still, what did the Duke care as long as he came out on top?
Brothel is such an uncouth word, I find. Very common, unpleasant word. I simply provided friendly and attentive escort services to those in want of a little company. It's much more palatable, phrasing it like that, don't you think? We cater to the needy, the rich, and the powerful. I don't think you'd believe me if I showed you my list of clientele. It's a very long list, but a lady never tells.
I was acquainted with Mistress Overdone, yes, but I see nothing insidious in that. She's a very tenacious woman, a fast thinker, quick on her feet, even quicker off her feet, some might say. Oh, her more vulgar clientele would say, not me. Oh, no. I wouldn't be caught dead in a place like that. I don't frequent places of, Oh, but I didn't mean to suggest, I'm not invalidating someone who working in that industry.
We have it on record that you did frequent Mistress Overdone's establishment. We also have details of your fraternisation with one of her employees.
That was never proven. I don't believe in DNA testing anyway. Many a man has been trapped into parental responsibilities through those damned things. I thought this was long past. Were those documents a matter of public record? I didn't think they... Can I trouble you for a glass of water?
Yes, I remember Lucio. Had a very large wallet. He was a handsome tipper. Loved the attention my girls gave him. I wish I could say he was attentive in return, but, well, when the paternity lawsuit came out. I made it my business to keep tabs on him. These men. They love the way we look, the way we make them feel. But playtime's over as soon as they start to get bored. They're boys, nothing more, and we're the ones left to pick up the pieces of their broken toys.
I still deny everything. I'm a married man. Who I was in the past doesn't matter. I've maintained a clean slate this past decade. I like to think I'm a good husband to my wife and a good father. Busy, yes, but who isn't? Mistress Overdone, on the other hand, there's a woman who wouldn't let go of the past.
My establishment was much more respectable than you might think, and well within the law. At least it was until that weasel decided to change everything on his first day on the job. He labeled it a place of ill repute. Can you believe that? Closed down my doors. Now, I pride myself on looking after my girls, and we were afforded protection in the past, I'll admit. It's more than I can say for those poor souls in the streets. I don't like the word privilege, but I know we had it. The Duke turned a blind eye to my establishment and turned his attention to the streets instead. Swine. But after Angelo stepped up, tell me, what do you think happened to my girls? We struggled, more than I want to say. When you're desperate, the feeling will eat away at you. It'll make you do desperate things.
What things were you and your employees driven to do?
A lot of my girls are mothers. I can tell from the look on your face that surprises you. But it's hard to find good childcare these days, let alone afford it when you're a single mom with a little one to look after. If a woman spends all her time raising her children, she'll want to find good paid work with flexible hours. When Angelo made his decree, you can imagine how my girls felt. Alone, neglected by the same powers who once protected us. I tried to help as best I could, but there was only so much I could do. I'm sure you have on record that I was arrested during the purge. I still don't know the full extent of what happened to some of my girls while I was in there. Things can escalate quickly under pressure, you know?
Angelo was mad. While I do give him credit for enforcing certain laws and coming through on them, making sex a punishable offence was absurd. It wasn't so dignified, I'd laugh straight in his face. He was out on a vendetta of some kind. But that says more about him than it does about us, if you know what I mean. And Claudio, God, he didn't deserve what happened to him at all. Poor boy.
Thank you for coming in and speaking with us. We appreciate this must be hard for you.
No. Don't worry. It's, well, yeah. Thank you. It's about time we spoke about it all. Hi, my name is Claudio. I am the brother of Isabella Vincentio.
And I'm Juliet, I'm Claudio's wife.
Would you mind telling us a bit about how it all started, perhaps beginning with your arrest, Claudio?
Of course, the arrest. You see, Juliet and I were engaged to be married. I think this is about 15 years ago now.
We almost were married. Everything was planned out, we just had to wait a bit on my inheritance. But as soon as we got that, we would have been married.
I was arrested. No, I was sentenced to death for having a child with my fiancée. You see, these are Angelo's laws. Not exactly his laws, but the laws that he decided to reinforce as soon as he had the chance. Unfortunately, I was his warning, his example.
And how did you find out about Angelo taking over from the Duke?
We knew him to be a bit of a character. Public perception was that he was a bit of an upstart, wasn't very popular, and he was ultimately harmless. Well, he seemed to be, at least. I wasn't really engaged with politics at the time. I don't think any of us were. Under the Duke's rule, nothing seemed to touch us.
The first I remember was the morning before you were arrested. I was speaking to Lucio, a friend of ours at the time, and he told me about how the brothels had all been shut. We cannot and will not ever forget what happened to us. It was all because of the Duke. The Duke allowed it to happen. He enabled it to happen. All of it. It is the Duke we will never forgive. He was a slimy coward, and he deserved what he got. Truly.
Fellow, why dost thou show me thus to the world? Bear me to prison where I'm committed.
I do it not an evil disposition, but by my lord Angelo, by special charge.
Thus can the demigod authority that make us pay down our fence by weight the words of heaven. Of whom it will, of whom it will not, so, yet still 'tis just.
Why? How now, Claudio? From whence came this restraint?
From too much liberty, my Lucio, liberty. A surfeit is the father of much fast, so every scope by the immoderate use turns to restraint.
Headers lieth have foppery of freedom as morality of imprisonment. What's thy offence, Claudio?
But to speak of would offend again.
What? Is murder?
No,
Lechery.
call it so.
Away, sir. You must go.
One word, good friend. Lucio, a word with you.
100 if will do you any good. Is lechery so looked upon?
Thus stands it with me. Upon a true contract, I got possession of Julieta's bed. You know the lady, she is fast my wife. Save that we do the denunciation, lack of outward order, this we came not to. Only for propagation of a dower remaining in the coffer of her friend, of whom we thought it meet to hide our love, till time made them for us. But a chance, the stealth of our most mutual entertainment, with character too gross, is writ on Juliet.
With child, perhaps.
Unhappily, even so.
I warrant it is, and thy head sounds so tickle on thy shoulders that a milkmaid, if she be in love, may sigh it off. Send off to the Duke and appeal to him.
I have done so, but he's not to be found. I prithee, Lucio, do me this kind service. This day, my sister should the cloister enter, and there receive her approbations. Acquaint her with the danger of my state. Implore her, in my voice, that she make friends to the strict deputy, and bid herself essay him. I have a great hope in that, for in her youth there is a prone and speechless dialect, such as move men. Besides, she hath prosperous art when she will play with reason and discourse, and well she can persuade.
I pray she may, as well for the encouragement of the like, which else would stand under grievous imposition, as for the enjoying of thy life. For I'd be sorry to be thus foolishly lost at a game of tic-tac. I'll to her.
I thank you, good friend Lucio.
After the Duke had set everything in place, it is believed he approached a friar of the city, Friar Thomas, in order to obtain his famed disguise.
No, Holy Father, think not that the dribbling dart of love can pierce a complete bosom. Why I desire thee to give me secret harbour hath a purpose more grave and wrinkled than the aims and ends of burning youth.
May your grace speak of it?
My Holy Father, none better knows than you how I have ever loved the life removed. I have delivered to Lord Angelo, a man of stricture and firm abstinence, my absolute power and place here in Vienna. And he supposes me travelled to Poland, for so I have strewed it in the common ear, and so it is received. Now, pious sir, you will demand of me why I do this?
Gladly, my lord.
We have strict statutes and most biting laws, the needful bits and curbs to headstrong weeds, which for this 19 years we have let slip, even like an overgrown lion in a cave who goes not out to prey. Now, as fond fathers, having bound up the threatening twigs of birch, only to stick it in their children's sight for terror, not to use, in time, the rod becomes more mocked than feared. So our decrees, dead to infliction to themselves, are dead. And liberty plucks justice by the nose. The baby beats the nurse, and quite athwart goes all decorum.
It rested in your grace to unloose this tied-up justice when you pleased. And it in you more dreadful would have seemed than this Lord Angelo.
I do fear too dreadful. Sith 'twas my fault to give the people scope, 'twould be my tyranny to strike and gall them for what I bid them do. Therefore, indeed, I have on Lord Angelo imposed the office, who may, in the ambush of my name, strike home, and yet my nature, never in the fight to do in slander. And to behold his sway, I will, as 'twere a brother of your order, visit both prince and people. Therefore, I prithee, supply the habit, and instruct me how I may formally in person bear me like a true friar. Lord Angelo is precise. Stands at a guard with envy. Scarce confesses that his blood flows, or that his appetite is more to bread than stone. Hence, shall we see, if power changed purpose, what our seamers be?
I am Isabella. I am the late widow of the Duke Vincenzio.
Thank you for doing this with us today, Isabella. How are you feeling?
I feel ready. I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time.
Could you begin by telling us a bit about what came after the Duke? How you decided to tell the truth about your marriage?
The Duke and I were married 15 years ago. I was left widowed 5 years ago. Then the documents were leaked. I was finally exposed for all his religious and financial dealings. The offshore tax evasion, all the hideous corruption. Couldn't handle it, I guess. The stress worked its way to his heart. He was a weak man underneath it all, but you don't need me to tell you that. And as for the marriage, well, everyone remembers that proposal at least. What I do know is that he manipulated everyone around him. He manipulated me, used me. From the moment I laid eyes on him as Friar Ludwig to the moment he took his last breath. He liked me. I was his plaything, I suppose. But nothing more. I was prisoner in my own marriage.
Do you mind telling us about how you first found out about Claudio? Where were you? How did you discover your brother had been arrested?
I was a novice mill at the time. Foolish, naive young girl. Only 18. I thought my entire life was leading up to the moment where I would finally be able to give my entire self to God. The moment where I knew I'd be able to live the rest of my life serving Him. I was about to join the Order of St. Clair. Strict order, perhaps, but it was what I needed. Then I got the news about my brother Claudio. A friend of Claudio, Lucio, who I'd never heard of before, came to the convent to tell me the news. I can't say I believed him. How could you blame me? My brother, a gentleman of repute, arrested for having a child with his own fiancée. It was absurd. But I heard him out.
Oh, peace be in this place.
Peace and prosperity, who is it that calls?
Hail, Virgin, if you be so, for those cheek roses proclaim you are no less. Could you so stead me as bring me to the sight of one Isabella, brother of unhappy Claudio?
Why her unhappy brother? The rather for I must make you know that I am that Isabella, and his sister.
Gentle and fair, your brother kindly greets you. Not to be weary with you, he's in prison.
Woe me, for what?
For that which, if myself might be his judge, he should receive his punishment and thanks. He hath got his friend with child.
Make me not your stories.
I would not, though 'tis my familiar sin with maids, to seem the lapwing, and to jest, tongue far from heart, play with all virgins so. I hold you as a thing enskied and sainted. By your announcement, an immortal spirit, and to be talked with in sincerity, as with a saint.
You do blaspheme, mocking the good in me.
Your brother and his lover have embraced. To those that feed grow full, as blossoming things that from the seedness the bare fallow brings to teeming poison, even so her plenteous womb expresseth his full tilleth in husbandry.
Someone with child. My cousin Juliet?
Is she your cousin?
Adoptedly. As schoolmates do oft change their name through apt affection.
She it is.
Oh, let him marry her!
This is the point. The Duke is very strangely gone from hence. Upon his place, and with full line of his authority, governs Lord Angelo. A man whose blood is very snowbroth. One who never feels the wanton stings and motions of the sense, under whose heavy sense your brother's life falls into forfeit. He arrests him on it, and follows close the rigour of statute to make him an example. All hope is gone, unless you have the grace, by your fair prayer, to soften Angelo. And that's my pith of business twixt you and your fair brother.
Alas, what poor powers within me to stop this?
Say the power you have.
Alas, my power.
Go to Lord Angelo, and let him learn to know, when maidens sue, men give like gods, but when they weep and kneel, all their petitions are freely theirs, as they themselves would owe them.
I'll see what I can do.
But speedily.
I will about it straight, having no longer but to give them of a notice of my affair. I humbly thank you. Commend me to my brother. At night, soon, I will give him notice of my certain success.
I take my leave of you.
Good sir, adieu. I did the only thing I could do. I went to Angelo. We didn't see much of him. So, I thought I had a chance. I was going to change his mind.
Come in.
I am a woeful suitor to your honour. Please, but your honour, hear me.
Well, what's your suit?
I have a brother is condemned to die. I do beseech you, let it be his fault and not my brother.
Condemn the fault and not the actor of it?
just but severe law. Heaven keep your honour. Must he needs die?
Maiden, no remedy.
Yes, I do think that you might pardon him, and neither heaven nor man may grieve at the mercy.
I will not do it.
But can you, if you would?
I will not. That I cannot do.
But might you do it, and do the world no wrong? As if your heart were touched with that same remorse as mine is to him.
He's sentenced. 'Tis too late.
Too late. Why? No. I, that do speak a word, may call it back again. Well, believe this. No ceremonies that the great ones long for, not the king's crown, nor the deputed sword, become them with half so good a grace as mercy does. If he had been as you and you as he, you would have slipped like him. But he, like you, would not have been so stern.
I pray you, begone. Your brother is a forfeit of the law. You but waste your words.
Alas, why? All the souls that were forfeit once, and that he that might the vantage best have took found out the remedy. How would you be, if he, which is the top of judgment, were but to judge you as you are? Oh, think on that, and the mercy will breathe into your lips like man new made.
Be you content, fair maid? It is the law, not I, that condemns your brother. If he were my kinsman, my brother, my son, it would be thus with him. He must die tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Oh, that's so sudden! Spare him! Spare him! He's not ready to die! Even for our kitchens, we serve fowl of the season. How are we to minister less respect to heaven than we do our gross selves? Oh, good, my lord, bethink you. Who is it that hath died for this offence? There are many who have committed it.
The law hath not been dead, though it hath slept. Those many had not dared to do this evil if the first of this edict infringed had answered for his deed. Now 'tis awake. Take note of what is done, and like a prophet looks in a glass, can see what future evils, either new or by remissness new conceived, have progress to be hatched and born. Now they have no successive degrees, but ere they live to die.
Yet show some pity!
I show it most when I show justice. Be satisfied. Your brother dies tomorrow. Be content.
It is excellent to have the strength of a giant, but it is tyrannous to use it like one. Could great men thunder as Jove himself does, Jove would never be quiet. Every pelting, petty officer would use Jove's heaven for thunder, nothing but thunder. And man, proud man, dressed in little brief authority, most ignorant of what he's most assured, plays such fantastic tricks upon heaven that the angels do weep, and that with our spleens would all themselves lap mortal. Great men may jest with saints, 'tis wit in them, but in less foul profanation.
Why do you put these sayings upon me?
Go to your bosom, knock there and ask your heart what it already doth know. It's like my brother's fault. If it admit a natural guiltlessness, let not your tongue sound against my brother's death tomorrow.
Oh, bethink me. Come again tomorrow.
Hark how I'll bribe you!
How? Bribe me?
With such gifts that heaven shall bestow upon you. Not with fond coins made of tested gold, but prayers. True prayers from fasting maids whose minds are nothing temporal to anything immediate. True prayers.
Come to me tomorrow.
Heaven keep your honour. I bid you farewell.
What is this? What is this? Is this her fault or mine? Who sins most, the tempter or the tempted? Not she. She does not tempt. But I, lying in the violet of the sun, do as the carrion does, not as the flower, corrupt with virtuous season. Oh, fie, fie, fie! Why dost thou desire her so foully for that which makes her good? Oh, let her brother live! Thieves in their robbery have authority when judges steal themselves. Oh, do I love her? That I do desire to hear her speak again, to feast upon her eyes. Oh, cunning enemy! To catch a saint with saint dost thou bait thy hook. The most dangerous temptation is that which goads us to sin in loving virtue. Never could the strumpet, with all her double vigour, art and nature, stir my temper, but this virtuous maid does subdue me quite. Even till now, when men were fond, I smiled and wondered how.
How are you feeling about the trial?
How do you think I'm feeling? I mean, I didn't ask for this power. The Duke gave it to me under false pretenses. I tried to turn it down, but he insisted I uphold it. This is as much his mess as it is mine, if not more.
You had a lot of power in your position. How did that make you feel?
What kind of a question is that? I reinstated laws that would benefit people in the long run. Did I get any thanks for it? No, of course not, but I was the best thing that could have happened to them. They just didn't see it yet. What I did was wrong, but I was under so much pressure. You wouldn't understand. He gave me barely any training, told me to get to work, just like that. I did what I thought was right. Does that make me a bad person? You know, when I first met him, I was skeptical. Everyone who meets him for the first time always is, but he has this... He has money and power, and he is willing to pay you if you go above and beyond the call of duty for him. You know, I realised he was more than just a boss. He was a father figure, a mentor, you know, someone I could really look up to, someone I could really trust. Once he had his hooks in you, there was, you know, there was no escape.
The Duke didn't even leave me out of it. When Claudio was in prison, when I was alone, pregnant with his child of all things, the Duke came to me. He came to me in that pathetic disguise and asked me to repent for my sins. He told me Claudio was to die the next day. Now that I think about it, I can't think of any reason why he would come to me other than the enjoyment of the power he held as a friar. The power to tell people they're going to die, the power to tell people their loved ones are going to die, the power to have people confide in you their worst fears and deepest hopes. It disgusts me.
Repent, you fair one, of the sin you carry.
I do, and bear the shame most patiently.
I'll teach you how you shall arraign your conscience, and try your penitence, if it be sound or hollowly put on.
I'll gladly learn.
Love you the man that wronged you?
Yes, as I love the woman that wronged him.
So then it would seem your most offensive act was mutually committed.
Mutually?
Then was your sin of a heavier kind than his?
I do confess it and repent it, Father.
'Tis meet so, daughter. But lest you do repent that this sin hath brought you to this shame, which sorrow is always towards ourselves, not heaven, showing that we would not spare heaven as we love it, but as we stand in fear.
I do repent me, as it is an evil, and take the shame with joy.
There rest. Your partner, as I hear it, must die tomorrow. And I am going with instruction to him. Grace go with you, Benedicite.
I did what he asked. I returned the next day. I suspected there might be some sort of arrangement. Bargain, perhaps, if he had chosen to save Claudio's life. I just didn't expect that he would ask me to.
Subjects. Though heaven hath my empty words, my inventions, hearing not my tongue anchor on Isabel. Heaven in my mouth as if I did but only chew his name, and in my heart strong swelling evil of my own conception. Fool, how often dost thou with thy case, thy habit, wretch all from fools who love, and tie those wiser souls to thy false seeming? Blood, thou art blood. Let us write good angel on the devil's horn. It's not the devil's crest. How now, fair maid?
I am come to know your pleasure.
That you might know it. It would have best pleased me than to demand what it is. Your brother cannot live.
Heaven keep your honour.
Yet, he may live a while. Maybe as long as you or I. But he must die.
Under your sentence?
Yes.
when, I beseech you, that in his reprieve, longer or shorter, that he be so fitted for death so that his soul sicken not.
Fie these filthy vices. It is as good to pardon he who steals from nature a man whole made, as to remit such saucy sweetness that do coin heaven's image in stamps that are forbid. It is as easy to take away a life true made, as to put metal in restrained means to make a false one.
'Tis said so in heaven, but not on earth.
Say you so? Let me pose quickly. What would you rather? That, by the most just law, takes your brother's life, or, to redeem your brother, you give up your body to such sweet uncleanness as he hath stained?
Sir, believe this. I had much rather give my body than my soul. He was using all sorts of metaphors. He didn't make his intentions clear until he had to. He was just a scared little man. He expressed his feelings the only way he knew how to. He hid behind metaphors like the Duke hid behind a costume. Some papers, broadcasters have insinuated that I invited it since I told him I would rather give my body than my soul.
Now, I am the voice of recorded law, and I pronounce a sentence on your brother's life. Is there no charity in sin to save this brother's life?
Please you to do it. If it is a peril upon my soul, I'll take it. It is not sin at all, but charity. But what most don't understand is who that girl was. I would have traded my life for Claudio's in a heartbeat. I wanted to save him more than anything. But my faith would not allow me to do what Angelo asked of me. To sacrifice my virginity. That was worse than death to that girl.
Please you to do it, at the peril of your soul, when poised equally in charity and sin.
I do beg for his life. If it be a sin, then heaven let me bear it.
Nay, but hear me. Your senses do not pursue mine. Are you ignorant, or seeming so, craftily? Because that is not good.
Let me be ignorant, in nothing good, but graciously to know that I am no better.
But mark me, to be received plain, I shall speak more gross. Your brother is to die. Admit no other way to save him. I do not subscribe to anything else. But this question, that you, his sister, is desired by someone who has credit with the judge and whose own great place can fetch thy brother from the manacles of all building law. No other earthly way to save him, but either giving up the treasures of your body to this supposed, or to let him suffer. What would you choose?
As much for my poor brother as to myself. It is me under the structure of death. The impressions of keen whips I'd wear as rubies and sipped to death. As to a bed longing have been sick for, ere yield up my body for shame.
Then your brother must die.
Twere it but a cheaper way.
You seemed of late to make the law a tyrant, and rather proved the sliding of your brother more of a merriment than a vice.
Oh, pardon me, my lord, as as it often speaks. We say things we do not mean. I do but excuse the very thing I hate for the love of my brother.
Let me be bold. I do arrest your words. Be that you are, that is, a woman. If you be more, you be none. Then, as you are well expressed by all your external warrants, show it now by putting on the destined livery.
I have no tongue but one. Gentle, my lord, I entreat you to speak the former language.
Plainly conceive. I love you.
My brother loves Juliet, and you will kill him for that.
He may not, Isabel. If you love me.
I know your virtue have a license in it, that it is to pluck on others.
Believe me, my words express my purpose.
Stay back! Angela, sign a warrant for thy brother's pardon, or with an outstretched foot, I'll tell the world what man thou art!
Oh. But who will believe thee, Isabel? My unsoiled name, my oustiness of life, my vouch against you. My place in state shall outweigh your accusation, and you shall stifle your report and smell of calumny. I have begun, and now I give my sensual race the rein. Fit thy consent to my sharp appetite. Lay by all the nicety and prolicious blushes that banish what they sue for. Redeem thy brother by yielding up thy body to my will. Or else, he must not only die the death, but thy unkindness shall his death draw out to lingering sufferance. Answer me tomorrow, or by the affection that now guides me most, I'll prove a tyrant to him. As for you, say what you can. My false overweighs your true.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this, who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths! The bear in them, one and the self-same tongue of either condemnation or approve, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite to follow as it draws. Out, my brother. Though he have fallen by puncture of the blood, yet he hath in him such a mind of honour. Had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bully blocks, he'd yield them up before his sister. Before his sister. Should her body stoop to such a broad pollution? Then Isabel live chaste, and brother die. More than our brother is our chastity. I'll tell him yet of Angela's request, and fit his mind for death, his soul's rest.
through your head when he made that offer?
Couldn't turn to my brother, as I usually would. Couldn't turn to God. All I know is that if I went through with it, I would be as good as dead. It wasn't a choice between his life or mine. It was a choice between his death and my eternal damnation. My brother was a good man, an honourable man. I thought he understood by faith. I thought he would understand. I know how my decision looks. I do. But my faith meant everything to me. I wanted to save Claudio, but I simply could not.
I had been in the prison for maybe a couple of days before I first met the Duke. I was treated like a murderer, abandoned for hours, left with no food. I hardly knew what time of day it was. When the Duke visited me in my cell, he was in his disguise. The rosary, the dog collar. He was a curious man, even before all this, a quiet ruler. It is this moment now, looking back at it, makes me realize how deeply fucked up he was. It was the day before my execution. I told him I wanted to live. I told him I wasn't ready to die, knowing it was within his powers to stop it all, knowing he could save me. He started telling me how life holds no meaning and that I would be a fool to want to live. I believe at that time he had no intention of saving me. He was going to let me die.
So then, you hope of a pardon from Lord Angelo?
The miserable have no other medicine but only hope. I've hoped to live, and I'm prepared to die.
Be absolute for death. Either death or life shall thereby be the sweeter. Reason thus with life. If I do lose thee, I do lose a thing that none but fools would keep. Thou art death's fool. For him thou labourest by thy flight to shun, yet runnest towards him still. Thou art by no means valiant, for thou dost fear the soft and tender form of a poor worm. If thou art rich, thou art poor. For like an ass whose back with silver's bounds, thou bears thy heavy riches but a journey. Death unloads thee. Thou hast neither youth nor age, but as it were an after-dinner sleep, dreaming both. For all thy blessed youth becomes as aged, and doth beg the arms of palsied eld. And when thou art old and rich, thou hast neither heat, limb, affection, nor beauty to make thy riches pleasant. What's yet in this that bears the name of life? Yet in this life lie hid more 1,000 deaths. Yet 'tis death we fear. It makes these odds all even.
Only thank you. To sue to live, I find I seek to die, and seeking death finds life. Let it come on.
For a priest, he didn't seem to believe much in the sanctity of life, I must admit. But I believed him. I had to. I thought it was all over. That I might not never see my Juliet again. That I might never meet our child. In that moment, it was better to find solace in death. That was until my sister arrived.
Claudio?
Sister, what's the comfort?
As all comforts are. Most good. Most good indeed. Lord Angelo, having affairs to heaven, intends you as his swift ambassador. Well, you shall be an everlasting leisure. Therefore, your best appointment make with speed. You set on tomorrow.
Is there no remedy?
None such remedy as to stay the head, but to cleave a heart in twain.
But is there any?
Yes, brother, you may live, though there is a devilish mercy in the judge, if you'll implore it.
Perpetual durance?
Aye, just perpetual durance, a restraint. Though all your world's fastidity was determined down to a scope.
But in what nature?
One such as, if you'll allow it, would bark that honour from that trunk you bear and leave you naked.
Let me know the point.
I do fear thee, Claudio. And I quake. Lest thou a feverous life shouldst entertain 6 or 7 winters more respect than perpetual honour. Darest thou die? The sense of death is most in apprehension. And the poor beetle which we tread upon feels more corporeal sufferance than a giant does when he dies.
Why do you give me this shame? Think you I can resolution fetch from flowery tenderness? If I must die, I will embrace darkness as a bride and hug it in mine arms.
Yes, thou must die. Thou art too noble to conserve a life in base appliances. This outward sainted deputy, whose nestled facade and deliberate worth nips youth in the hem and doth follies anew, like the falcon doth the foal. His devil, his filth, being cast, he would appear upon the steepest hell.
Prince Angelo!
Oh, 'tis the cunning livery of hell. The damnedest body to use the cover and investing in frenzy gods. Dost thou think, Claudio, if I were but to give him the liberties of my virginity, thou mightst be saved?
Heavens, it cannot be.
Yes, it is so. From this rank offence it so offends him still. In the dead of the night, to my name which I abhor, tomorrow should I dost it, or you die.
Thou shalt not do it.
If it were my life for yours, I'd throw it down for your deliverance as frankly as a pin.
Thanks, dear Isabel.
Be ready, Claudio, for your death tomorrow.
Yes. Has he affections in him that thus can make him bite the Lord by the nose when he would force it? Sure it is no sin, or of the deadly 7, it is the least.
What's the least?
If it were damnable, he being so wise, why would he, for the momentary trick, be perdurably fined? Oh, Isabel!
Save my brother.
Death is a fearful thing.
And shamed like the hateful.
Aye, but to die and go we know not where, to lie in cold obstruction and to rot, this sensible warm motion to become a kneaded clod, and the delighted spirit to bathe in fiery floods, or to reside in thrilling region of thick-ribbed ice, or to be imprisoned in viewless winds and blown with restless violence round about the pendant world, or to be worse than those that flawless and insincere thought imagine howling. 'Tis too horrible. The most loathed worldly life that age, hate, penury, and imprisonment can lay on nature is a paradise to what we fear of death. Sweet sister, let me live! What sin you commit to save a brother's life, nature dispenses the deed so far that it becomes a virtue.
Oh, you beast! A faithless coward! Dishonest wretch! Wilt thou be made a man out of my vice? Is it not incest to take life from thine own sister's shame? What should I think? Die! Perish! Should it take but my bending down to reprieve thee from thy fate? I'll pray 1,000 prayers for thy death. No word to save thee.
Nay, hear me, Isabel.
Oh, fie! Thy sins that accidental but a trade. Mercy would prove itself upon to thee. Thou hast best die quickly.
Oh, hear me, Isabella!
So much of my identity was wrapped up in my relationship with my faith. It was the highest form of betrayal to my God. That's what I thought. I've been called many things for what I did. Selfish, a murderer.
My son, I have overheard what hath passed between you and your sister. Angelo had never the purpose to corrupt her. Only, he hath made an essay of her virtue, to practice his judgment of the dispositions of natures. She, having the truth of honour in her, made him that most gracious denial which he is glad to receive. I am confessor to Angelo, and I know this to be true. Therefore prepare yourself to death. Do not satisfy your resolutions with hopes that are fallible. Tomorrow, you must die. Go to your knees and make ready.
Let me ask my sister pardon. I'm so out of love with life that I will sue to be rid of it.
Hold you there. Farewell.
I knew what this meant to Isabella. I did, but I couldn't. I love my sister. I always will. But she betrayed me. If she couldn't justify to herself the importance of saving her brother, she was totally blinded by her faith. There's no way to reason with her. That's what upsets me most.
Have the two of you spoken since?
No. No. Not since Julia and I moved away. I am sorry for what she has been through. I truly am. I wish none of it had happened, and I wish we could... I don't know. I'll never understand her.
Has she reached out to you? To either of you?
She has. Years ago, but with the kids and moving, and it's just never felt right.
I was made to feel like I was the murderer. Like I wanted it. I think about that argument all the time. That was the last time I spoke with my brother. It was after that the Duke came to me with his plan. He came to me in the disguise we all know so well. He told me his name was Friar Lodwick. And in Lodwick, I found someone who would tell me what to do, Suppose that's why I was drawn to religion. So long as I had someone to follow, someone to tell me what's right and what's wrong, someone to reassure me that I was going to be okay, I was safe. It was at this point he told me about Mariana. He told me that if I returned to Angelo and told him I would agree to his deal, that Mariana would take my place in the dark. It's the only option left.
The hand that hath made you fair hath also made you good. The goodness that is cheap in beauty makes beauty brief in goodness. But grace being the soul of your complexion shall keep the body of it ever fair. How will you do to content this substitute and to save your brother?
I am going to resolve him. I would rather my brother die by the law and my son to be born unlawfully. But, oh, how the great Duke is so deceived in Angelo. If ever he comes back and I can speak with him, I'll open my lips in vain and talk to his government.
That shall not be much amiss. Yet as the matter now stands, he will avoid your accusation. He may trial of you only. Therefore, fasten your ear on my advisings. To the love I have in doing good, a remedy presents itself. I do make myself believe that you may most uprighteously do a poor wronged lady a merited benefit, redeem your brother from the angry law, do no stain to your own gracious person, and much please the absent Duke, if, peradventure, he shall ever return to have hearing of this business.
Let me hear you speak, Father. I have spirit to do what is needed to be done, as long as it does not go against my spirit.
Virtue is bold, and goodness never fearful. Have you not heard speak of Mariana, sister of the great soldier Frederick, who miscarried at sea?
I have heard of the good lady, and good words go along with her name.
She should, this Angelo, have married, was affianced to her by oath, and the nuptials appointed, was her brother Frederick, wrecked at sea, having in that perished vessel the dowry of his sister. But mark how heavily this befell to the poor gentlewoman. There she lost a noble and renowned brother. With him, the portion and sinew of her fortune, the marriage dowry. With both, this competent husband, the well-seeming Angelo.
Can it be so? Angelo left her?
Left her in her tears, and dried not one of them with his comfort.
What a merit were it in death to take this poor maiden from the world! And what corruption in this world to let him live! But how can this poor maid be righted in this situation?
It is a rupture you may easily heal. And the cure of it not only saves your brother, but keeps you from dishonour in doing it.
Let me hear you, Father. I will do as you say.
Go you to Angelo. Answer his requiring with a plausible obedience. Agree with his demands. Only refer yourself to this advantage. First, that your stay with him may not be long. That the time shall have all shadow and silence in it, and the place answer to convenience. This being granted in course, and now follows all. We shall advise this wronged maid to stead up your appointment. Go in your place. If the encounter acknowledge itself hereafter, it may compel him to her recompense, and hereby this is your brother saved, your own honour untainted, this corrupt deputy scaled. The maid will I frame and make fit for his attempt. If you think well to carry this as you may, the doubleness of the benefit defends the deceit from all reproof. What think you of it?
The image of it doth give me much content already, and I'm sure it will grow in peace and prosperity.
It lies much in your holding up. Haste you speedily away to Angelo. If he entreat you to his bed this night, give him promise of satisfaction. I will presently to St. Luke's. There at the moated grange resides this dejected Mariana.
I thank you, Father. Fare you well.
I never met Isabella Vincentio, but I know her, just as I know every woman who passes me on the street. We've all experienced it. The abuse from the big bad wolf. When you're at the top of the food chain, what do spare scraps of meat matter to you? They see what they want to see, hear what they want to hear. When they blow your house down, they won't notice whether it's made of sticks or straw or brick. They just want to get inside. And when the Duke saw Isabella, I bet he howled to the moon like crazy.
Look, I know I've been relatively harsh on Angelo in the past. I've even gone on record for it. But you have to hand it to the guy. He cleaned up the streets quicker than the Duke ever could. I even told him that once to his face. I just didn't entirely know it at the time. Sneaky rat of a man. But Angelo managed to out-rat the rat. You can see it in his eyes. There's something unnatural in them. In fact, I suspect he was born with the devil in him. How else would you explain his vendetta to snuff out human nature? He can't be all human himself.
What of the Duke? What else did you say to him?
Oh, the smarmy git just stood there letting you badmouth Angelo. I like to imagine what was going on in his head at the time. Just biding his time, playing the part amicably. I bet he took pleasure in making me look ridiculous.
Duke?
No. 'Tis I, my child, Friar Lodwick.
Oh, what news, Friar, of the Duke?
I know none. Can you tell me of any?
Some say he is with the Emperor of Russia. Others some he is in Rome. What say you?
I know not where, but wheresoever I wish him well.
It was a mad, fantastical trick of him to steal from the state, and usurp the beggary he was never born to. Lord Angelo dukes it well in his absence. Puts transgression to it.
He does well in't.
A little more lenity to lechery would do no harm. Something too crabbed that way, Friar.
It is too general a vice, and severity must cure it.
Yes, in good sooth. The vice is of a great kindred. It is well allied, but is impossible to extirpate quite, till eating and drinking be at down.
I never much heard the Duke detected for women. He was not inclined that way.
Oh, sir, you are much deceived.
'Tis not possible.
Who? Not the Duke. Yes, your beggar of 50, and his use was to put a ducat in a clack dish. The Duke had crotchets in him. He'd be drunk too, that let me inform you.
You do him wrong, surely.
Sir, it was an inward of his. A shy fellow was the Duke, and I believe I know the cause of his withdrawing.
What, I prithee, might be the cause?
No. Pardon. 'Tis a secret. Must be locked between the teeth and the lips. But this I can tell you. Understand the greater file of the subject. Have the Duke to be wise.
Wise? Why, no question that he was.
A very superficial, ignorant, unweighing fellow.
Either this is the envy in you, folly or mistaking.
Sir, I know him and I love him.
Love speaks with better knowledge, and knowledge with dearer love.
Come, sir, I know what I know.
I can hardly believe that, since I know that you know not what you speak. But if the Duke ever return, as we pray he may, I will desire you to make answer before him. If you have spoke truth, you will have courage to maintain it. I am bound to call upon you, and I pray you, your name?
So my name is Lucia, well known to the Duke.
He will know you better if I may live to report you.
I fear you not.
Oh. Then you hope the Duke shall return no more. Or you imagine me too unhurtful and opposite. But, indeed, I can do you little harm. You'll forswear this again.
I'll be hanged first. Thou art deceived in me, friar. But no more of this. Canst thou tell me if Claudio die tomorrow or no?
Why should he die, sir?
Aye, filling a bottle with tundish. I would the Duke we talk of were returned again. The ungeneted agent will unpeople the province with continency. Sparrows must not build in his house eaves, because they are lecherous. Marry, this Claudio is condemned for untrusting. Farewell, good friar. I prithee pray for me. The Duke, I say to thee again, would eat mutton on Fridays. He's not past it yet, and I say to thee, he would mouth with a beggar. Though she smelt brown bread and garlic, say that I said so. Farewell.
Had me eating out of the palm of his hand, spouting off some lies about there not being any truth or honesty left in the world. He could always be a hypocrite in the office, but he was so righteous about it. That's what got to me, I think. If there was some moral high ground in the Duke's head, he was the only one who was in on it. Friar! What news aboard the world?
None. But that there is so great a fever on goodness that the disillusion of it must cure it. Novelty is only in request, and it is as dangerous to be aged in any course as it is virtuous to be constant in any undertaking. This news is old enough, yet it is every day's news. I pray you, sir, of what disposition was the Duke?
One that's above all other strifes, contended especially to know himself.
What pleasure did he give himself to?
Rather rejoicing to see another merry than merry at anything which professed to make him rejoice. A gentleman of all temperance.
I thank you. Farewell.
I agreed to go through with it. I had no reason to expect anything. I realise now that all along he was just using me. The friar was someone who I could trust. My family were devout Christians. We used to go to church every Sunday since I was little. I've always sought comfort from those closest to God. I trust his judgment. Different people would come and go, but they always seemed to give the right advice. I had no reason to think anything else of him. When he came to me that day, I remember thinking something wasn't right. I remember Isabella was also with him that day, and she told me of a plan to save her brother. And my Angelo. Despite everything he did to me,
leaving me because I lost my inheritance, I still loved him, if you could call it that. The Duke and Isabella had come up with a plan to get back at Angelo. The plan was simple. I was to sleep with him in place of Isabella. Now, I don't often question the word of God, even if this did seem questionable. My gut instincts were telling me that something definitely wasn't right. But the friar put my worries to rest and assured me that this was the right thing to do. I trusted him. That was my first mistake.
I cry you mercy, sir. I could wish you had not found me here so musical. Let me excuse me, but believe me so, my mirth it has much displeased, but pleased my woe.
'Tis good. Music oft hath such a charm to make bad good, and good provoke to harm. I pray you tell me, has anybody called for me here today? Much upon this hour have I agreed to meet.
You have not been inquired after. I have sat here all day.
I do constantly believe you. The time has come, even now. I shall crave your forbearance a little. Maybe I will call upon you anon, with some advantage to yourself.
I am always bound to you.
Very well met, and welcome. What news from this good deputy?
He hath a garden, circumyummed with brick, his western side with a vineyard back, and to that vineyard is a plunged gate that makes his opening with a bigger key. That over doth command a little door, which from the vineyard to the garden leaves. There have I made my promise, on the heavy middle of the night, to call upon him.
But shall you on your knowledge find this way?
I have taken a due and wary note upon it, with whispering and most guilty diligence. In all action of precept, he did show me the way twice over.
Are there no other tokens agreed between you concerning her observance?
No, none. But to stay in the dark. I have possessed him, my stay can be but brief. For I have made him know I have a servant comes along with me, that stays upon me. His persuasion is I come about my brother.
Mariana, I pray you, acquainted with this maid. She comes to do you good.
I do desire the like.
Do you persuade yourself that I respect you?
Good friar, I do, and have found it.
And take you this your companion by the hand. She hath a story ready for your ear. I shall attend your leisure, but make haste. The vaporous night approaches.
Would please you walk aside?
Oh, place and greatness. Millions of false eyes are stuck upon thee. Volumes of report run with these false and most contrarious quests upon thy doings. 1,000 escapes of wit make thee the father of their idle dreams, and rack thee in their fancies. Welcome! How agreed?
Upon your enterprise, if you agree further, she hath agreed to do it.
It is not my consent, but my entreaty also.
Little to say to him, but soft and low after you've done it. Remember my brother.
Fear me not.
Nor, gentle daughter, fear you not at all. He is your husband on a pre-contract. To bring you thus together, 'tis no sin, sith that the justice of your title to him doth flourish the deceit. Come, our corns to reap, yet our tithes to sow.
I accept that what Mariana and I did was wrong. I'm not excusing our behaviour or what we did. I know we were wrong. But we needed someone to show us the way. And he was it.
How did the Duke treat you throughout your time in power? What did he make you do?
You know, the Duke forced me to accept this position. He said that there was no one else who could fill the role. And the Duke had no trust issues, but I felt sorry for the guy. But he had studied me. He knew how I moved. He knew exactly how to play me. After some negotiations, I begrudgingly accepted the position. But I had no experience in any kind of leadership role. He didn't even tell me what to do. He just expected me to, I don't know, figure it out for myself.
Would you say you acted selfishly with your power?
Why on earth would you think that?
Because of how you felt towards her.
Was raised throughout my life to repress any urges I felt towards people. My family saw it as some kind of sin in the eyes of God. Don't get me wrong, I had these urges. Like I wanted to experience what it felt like to feel something. I felt incomplete, and it made me question my faith at times. They told me only to accept those in life who were pure. When I took over for the Duke, I used those words as guidance. I'd always believed that those words were the right words. That wasn't until I met Isabella. Those urges I'd tried to repress for years were now stronger than ever. I felt wrong. I questioned my own judgment. Would God have wanted this? Would my family have wanted this? I was told to only accept those who were pure in life. So she was pure. She was so pure. And I wanted her so badly. I'll admit, what I did was wrong. My thoughts were corrupted, and my vision was clouded. But I regret what I did. But, you know, none of it would have ever happened if it wasn't for the Duke. So...
Good morning, Provost.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
There is written in your brow, Provost, honesty and constancy. If I read it not truly, then my ancient skill beguiles me. But, in the boldness of my cunning, I will lay myself in hazard. Claudio, whom here you have a warrant to execute, is no greater forfeit to the law than Angelo, who hath sentenced him. And, to make you understand this in manifested effect, I crave but 4 days' respite, for which you will do me a present and dangerous courtesy.
Pray, sir, what is it?
In the delaying death.
Alack. How may I do it? Having the hour limited and an express command under penalty to deliver his head in view of Angelo, I may make my case as Claudio's to cross us in the small list.
By the vow of mine order, I warrant you, if my instructions may be your guide, let another prisoner this morning be executed, and his head born to Angelo.
Angelo have seen them both and will discover the favour.
Oh, death is a great disguiser, and you may add to it. Shave the head and tie the beard, and say it was the desire of the penitent to be so bared before his death. You know the course is common. If anything fall to you upon this, more than thanks and good fortune, by the saints whom I profess, I will plead against it with my life.
Pardon me, good father. It is against my oath.
Are you sworn to the Duke or the Deputy?
To him and his substitutes.
Then you will not find you have caused offence if the Duke avouch for the justice of your dealings.
What likelihood is in that?
Since neither my coat, integrity, nor persuasion can with ease attempt you, I will go further than I meant to pluck all fears out of you. Look you, sir, here. The hand and signet of the Duke. You recognise the character, I doubt not? And the signet is not strange to you?
I know them both.
Its contents is that the Duke comes home. You shall anon overread it at your pleasure, where in 2 days' time he will be back. This Angelo knows not. He today receives letters of strange tenor, perchance of the Duke's death, perchance of his entering a monastery, but none by chance of what is writ. Look, the unfolding star calls up the shepherd. Put yourself not into amazement how these things should be. All difficulties are made easy when they're known. Call your executioner.
You say the Duke falsely claimed your brother had been executed. What exactly did he tell you?
He told me my brother was dead. He told me the order from Angelo had been sent regardless, and that Claudio had been executed.
Now will I write letters to Angelo, the provost you shall bear them, whose contents shall witness to him I am near at home, and that by great injunctions I am bound to enter publicly. Him I'll desire to meet me at the consecrated fount a league below the city. And from thence, by cold gradation and well-balanced form, we shall proceed with Angelo.
Peace! Ho! Be in here!
The tongue of Isabel. She's come to know if yet her brother's pardon be come hither. But I will keep her ignorant of her good, to make heavenly comfort of her despair when it's least expected.
Ho! By your leave.
Good morning to you, fair and gracious daughter.
The better, being given by so holy a man like yourself. Hath yet the deputy sent my brother's pardon?
He hath released him, Isabel, from the world. His head is off and sent to Angelo.
Nay, it is not so.
It is no other. Show your wisdom, daughter, by your great patience.
Oh, I will. And I'll pluck his eyes out!
You will not be admitted to his sight.
Unhappy Claudio! Wretched Isabel! Injurious world! And most damned Angelo!
The Duke comes home tomorrow. Nay, dry your eyes. One of our convent and his confessor gives me this instance. Already he hath carried notice to Aeschylus and Angelo, who do prepare to meet him at the gates, there to give up their power. If you can, pace your wisdom down the path that I would wish it go, and you will have your bosom on this wretch, the grace of the Duke, revenge of your heart, and general honour.
I am directed by you.
As for my poor self, I am combined by sacred vow and shall be absent. Command these fretting waters from your eyes with light heart. trust not my holy order if I pervert your course.
I had nothing left to hold on to. They'd failed to save my brother. I trusted the friar, I trusted God, and everything fell apart. It was after that he told me about the Duke's return to the city. He told me I should plead for justice upon his return. So I agreed. It was the only thing left for me to do. I went to the city gates and waited. Crowds of people started flocking, awaiting his return. Aeschylus and Angelo arrived, and it took all my strength not to... But I waited. I waited for what felt like hours. Then, I heard the announcement.
This was the big finish, what it was all leading to. The Duke came back to us, acting the fool, acting the patsy. That poor girl did the best she could. God bless her heart. Knowing now what she put up with, even in those early days, she had more balls than he ever had.
I still don't understand how he did it. I don't even remember feeling nervous. It was as if it were only me and the Duke standing there, and then I came forward. I demanded justice.
My very worthy cousin, fairly met. Our old and faithful friend, we are glad to see you. Many and hearty thankings to you both. We have made inquiry of you, and we hear such goodness of your justice, that our soul cannot but yield you forth to public thanks for running more requital.
Oh, my lord, you do but make my bond greater still.
Give me your hand, and let the subjects see. Make them know that outward courtesies would fain proclaim favours that keep within. Aeschylus, you must walk by us on our other hands, and good supporters you are.
Fail your regard upon a wronged. I would have fain have said a maid, a worthy prince. Let you not cast your eye upon any other object till you have heard me in my fullest and truest complaint.
Relate your wrongs. In what, by whom? Be brief. This is Lord Angelo, who shall give you justice. Reveal yourself to him.
Might punish me if you believe me not, or redress me and repent me if so. Oh, hear me, O worthy Duke! By course of justice. It is strange, yet I speak most truly. Angelo's forsworn, is it not strange? Angelo's a murderer, is it not strange? Hypocrite, a liar, is it not strange that I speak the truth? It is true as he is Angelo. It is 10 times the truth. For truth is truth till the end of redemption. No, oh worthy prince, I conjure thee, as thou believest that there is another comfort in this world, that thou not neglect me with that opinion that I am touched with madness. 'Tis not impossible, but own, the wickedest caitiff on the ground may seem as shy, as grave, as just, as absolute as Angelo. Even so, may Angelo in all his dressings, characters, titles, forms be an arch-villain. Believe it, royal prince. If he be less, he's nothing. When he's more, had I more name for badness. I am the sister of one Claudio, condemned upon the act of fornication. To lose his head, condemned by Angelo. I, in probation of a sisterhood, was sent to my brother, one Lucio. How I persuaded, how I prayed, how I kneeled, how he repelled me, and how I replied. But this was of much length, the vile conclusion. I now begin with grief and shame to utter. He would not, but by gift of my chaste body, to his concupiscible, intemperate lust, release my brother. And after much debatement, my sisterly remorse confutes mine honour, as I did yield to him. The next morning, between his purpose sufferting, he sends a warrant for my poor brother's head. Oh, that it were as like as it is true! One that I would were here, Friar Lodwick.
He set this wretched woman against our substitute. Let that friar be found.
How did it all go down in the end?
Well, he seemed to take it fairly well. I mean, it came as a bit of a shock to him, but I think it wasn't so much the reveal itself, rather the realization that he finally had to come to terms with, well, the fact that I was now indefinitely back in his life.
Pardon, my lord. I'll not show my face until my husband bid me. No, sir. No, sir. Neither, my lord. My lord, I'll confess I ne'er was married, and do confess besides I am no maid. I have known my husband, yet my husband knows not that he e'er knew me.
This is no witness to Lord Angelo.
My lord, now come to it. She that accuses him of fornication in the selfsame manner doth accuse my husband, at such a time which I'll depose I had him in mine arms with all the effect of love.
Charges she more than me?
Not that I know.
No? You say your husband?
Why, just, my lord. And that is Angelo, who thinks he ne'er knew my body, but knows he thinks he knew Isabel's. Was fast belocked in thine. This is the body which stole the match from Isabel and supplied thee at thy garden house in her imagined person.
It's taken some getting used to. There have been a few rough patches here and there, but I feel as though things are finally getting back to normal.
Yeah, we've got a few things we just need to iron out.
You know, it's funny because I still remember how you reacted like... We were married under the Duke, so if we were to get a divorce, then...
Enough now.
married under the Duke has its own issues. Angelo still resents him for allowing things to happen the way they did.
So, have you got any more plans? Are you thinking of starting a family?
I would like to.
No.
We're thinking about it.
Know you this woman?
I confess to you, my lord, I do. But since 5 years there was speech of marriage betwixt myself and her, but it was called off, partly because her promised proportion did not reach the composition, but mainly because her reputation was disvalued in levity. It has been 5 years since I spake to her, heard from her, saw her. I swear on my faith and my honour.
My lord, I am affianced this man's wife as surely as words do create vows. And Tuesday night last gone, in's garden house, I knew him as a wife.
Give me the scope of justice. My patience here is touched. I do believe these poor, informal women to be some instrument of some major person that is set upon us. Give me my leave to seek this practice out.
Hey, with all my heart. And punish them to your height of pleasure, thy foolish friar, thou pernicious woman. There is a friar that set them on. Let him be sent for.
This is the rascal. This is he I spoke of.
Why, thou unreverend and unhallowed friar, is not enough that thou hast suborned these women and accused this worthy man, in foul mouth and in the witness of his ear, to call him villain?
Be not so hot. His subject am I not, nor here provincial. My business in this state has made me a looker-on here in Vienna. And I have seen corruption boil and bubble till it overrun the stew. Laws for all faults, but faults so countenance that the strong statutes stand like the forfeits in a barber's shop, as much in mock as mark.
Hark, how close the villain after his treasonable abuses!
Stay a while.
Resists arrest, help!
Come, sir, come, sir, come, sir. Both, sir!
The
Duke was unhinged. He lived under many layers of protection, characters. The man I knew was Friar Ludwig. But really, no such person ever existed.
Couldn't believe it. How sick do you need to be to do a thing like that? Dressing up in a dog collar. He looked right at me and lied to my face. To me. I tried so hard to be good in his eyes, to be worthy. Now, when I think of him, all I see is that smug grin. May he rot in hell.
I can't say I'm surprised at the means and the money, and when that comes into play, Motive doesn't need to. He was a pretender, hiding behind a title. We're all selling our souls bit by bit for capitalism. I'm just in control of how I do it. At least when I take my clothes off, I'm still the same person beneath them.
Of
course I suspected. I only wanted him to think that I didn't. That's always what's smartest of us all. Take a page out of my book. I like to believe that's why he threatened me. Oh yes, he did just that. I was to be whipped first and hanged second. You can put that on record, by the way, in that order. He threatened me publicly. I have witnesses. I take it back.
Thou art the first knave that ever made us a duke. First provost, I shall bail these gentle too.
Had looked upon my passes, then, good prince, no longer session hold upon my shame, then let my trial be my own confession. Immediate sentence, then sequent death. That's all the grace I pray for.
Come hither, Mariana. Wast thou ever contracted to this woman?
Yes, my lord, I was.
Go. Take her hence, and marry instantly. Come hither, Isabel. Your friar is now your prince. As I was then, not changing heart with habits, I am still attorney at your service. You are pardoned. And now, dear maid, be you as free to us. Your brother's death, I know, sits heavy at your heart. And you may wonder why I obscured myself, labouring to save his life, and would not rather make rash remonstrance with my hidden power than let him be. O most kind maid, it was the swift celerity of his death, which I did think with slower foot came on, that brained my purpose. But peace be with him, that life is better, past fearing death, than that which lives to fear. Make it your comfort, so happy is your brother.
I do know, my lord.
For this new married man, whose salt imagination hath yet wronged your well-defended honour, you must pardon, for Mariana's sake. But as he adjudged your brother in double violation of sacred chastity and promise breach, thereon dependent of your brother's life, the very mercy of the law cries out, most audible from its proper tongue. An Angelo for a Claudio, death for death, haste still pays haste, leisure answers leisure, like doth quit like, and measure still for measure. Then Angelo, thy faults thus manifested, would you condemn thee to the very block where Claudio stooped to his death, and with like haste? Away with him.
Isabel, lend me your knees, take my part, and all my life to come I'll lend you all my life to do you service.
Against all sense you do importune her. Should she kneel down in mercy of this fact, her brother's ghost would break his paved bed to drag her hence in horror.
Isabel, sweet Isabel, lend me your knees. Hold up your hands, say nothing, I'll speak all. They say good men are made all the better for being a little bad. So may my husband. Will you not lend a knee?
He dies for Claudio's death.
Most bounteous sir, look, if it please you, on this man condemned as if my brother lived, I partly think a due sincerity governed his thoughts till he did look upon me. Since it is so,
Let him not die. My brother had but justice in that he did the thing for which he died. For Angelo, his act did not overtake his bad intent, and must be buried but as an intent that perished by the way. Thoughts are no subject, merely thoughts.
My lord. Your suit's unprofitable. Stand up, I say.
This is for the prisoner that I saved. He should have died when Claudio lost his head. As like almost to Claudio as himself.
All I knew was one moment I was in the prison, awaiting execution. The next I was before the city, supposedly having been saved by the Duke. As much as Isabella and I have our differences, the way she looked at me that day broke my heart. We didn't say a word to one another. I regret that it has taken this long for any of us to come forward. But how do you expose the leader of your country? Anyways, it wasn't just my story to tell.
After it all happened, we left. We left the country without saying words, and we haven't returned since. I'm not sure we ever will.
The country is stained by him. He left his mark and we still feel it. He was a lying, manipulating, scheming piece of shit. And the bastard got what he deserved.
If he be like your brother, then for his sake is he pardoned. But for your own lovely sake, give me your hand and say you will be mine. But for your own lovely sake, give me your hand and say you will be mine. See, Claudio, that you wronged. Look you restore. My good friend Aeschylus, thank you for thy goodness. And Provost, thank you for thy care and secrecy. We shall employ thee in a worthier place still. Dear Isabel, I have a motion which much imports your good. If you'll a willing ear incline, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine.
I lost my faith. What kind of a god would let that happen to someone? Being the Duke's wife meant I could never return to the convent. Not that I felt I could after everything that had happened. Vicentio and I got married just a few days later. It was a huge, extravagant affair. But I don't remember too much of it, honestly. Looking at the papers gave me a better idea of what it was like than actually being there myself did. We were married for 10 years before he passed away. I had to adapt. I wouldn't have survived there as the girl I was. I think that may be part of the reason why the Duke grew so attached to me, so fond of me. It's because I was free from any sort of corruption, but I lost that side of myself almost instantly. So when it all came out, I wasn't surprised. It's only a matter of time before it all caught up to him. All I hope is that people understand. We were all victims of the Duke, from myself to my brother, even Angelo. We all played a role in his sick fantasy. I hope this documentary can provide some clarity, perhaps even closure. Hope it's not too late.